Last week, DJI launched an update to my favorite drone, the Mavic Air 2. In this video, I'll share my initial impressions of the new DJI Air 2S, test out some of the new features, and show you what this brand new 1-inch sensor can do. Hi guys, and welcome back to Ansible Media, where we explore the technology behind photo and video. As you may have already seen in my unboxing video, I was able to get my hands on the new Air 2S the day it launched. Unfortunately, the weather here in New York State hasn't been very cooperative, so I didn't get to fly it right away. Now that I've had some time to play with it and see what it's about, I thought I'd share what I think about the latest drone in DJI's lineup. So let's run through the specs real quick. The biggest change, of course, is the camera. The Air 2S is now equipped with a 1-inch CMOS sensor with a fixed f.28 aperture, which gives us 20 megapixel still images and 10-bit 5.4K video up to 30 frames per second. Now, compared to the Mavic Air 2's half-inch 48 megapixel quad-Bayer sensor, that offered 4K at 30 frames per second. Additionally, we can now shoot in DJI's D-Log color profile as well as HLG and normal modes. Outside of the camera, the Air 2S now has OcuSync 3.0 with an increased range of 12 kilometers. They've now added 2 upward-facing sensors, as well as upgraded the obstacle avoidance to APAS 4.0. One other physical difference that I've noted is the orientation lights on the legs are now much brighter and more visible, especially in daylight. Now, I don't know if they're using brighter LEDs or it's just because they're using clear covers now instead of the smoke-colored covers on the Mavic Air 2. So this is not meant to be a comparison video between the Air 2S and the Mavic Air 2, though I am working on that as well as a low-light comparison between them. But I do want to show you a bit of what this drone is capable of. So I recruited a buddy of mine, Devin Wood, to help me out performing some tests on the Air 2S. You can check out his channel, Unreal Devin Wood, by visiting the link in the description. He's a super funny guy, and I think he's going to be putting out some behind-the-scenes video of our testing. So let's start off with the ActiveTrack system. I had Devin drive around this parking lot at 30 to 40 miles per hour, and one thing that I noticed right away was that the top speed in normal mode for the Air 2S is now a little over 33 miles per hour, which is considerably faster than on the Mavic Air 2. Previously, to get going this fast, you'd have to switch to sport mode, which of course disables obstacle avoidance. As you can see, even when Devin pulled ahead, the Air 2S had no problem keeping track of him and catching up when he cornered. The biggest change with the Air 2S is, of course, the camera. The 1-inch sensor gives us some very detailed 5.4K video with 10-bit color in both the D-Log and HLG profiles. Sometimes I think the way they name these resolutions can be a little deceiving. People hear 5.4K and think that's not much more resolution than 4K. But when you consider that 4K UHD is about 8.2 megapixels and 5.4K video from the Air 2S is 16.8 megapixels, it makes it a little easier to understand that there is more than double the amount of information in that 5.4K image. Here's a little comparison to show the difference between 1080p, 4K, and 5.4K. As you can see, the 5.4K frame is considerably larger than the 4K frame. Alright, so let's take a look at some clips from the Air 2S and see how this looks in practice. Unfortunately, on the day we were shooting this, the weather kept changing every few minutes and it would start sprinkling and then clear up. But I was able to capture a few flyovers of this old building complex so we can compare the sharpness and detail of the new sensor. Another thing we can do with this camera is digital zoom. This can be done with a scroll wheel for smooth zooming effects, or by tapping on the screen to change the zoom multiplier. In 4K, you can zoom up to 4 times, 2.7K up to 6 times, and 1080 up to 8 times. Now, at the furthest extremes of this zoom range, the image isn't really usable, but thanks to the available resolution of the sensor, I think that the wider zooms are actually pretty decent, especially in the 4K mode. We also still have some slow motion options, though not as many as the Mavic Air 2. In 4K, you can shoot up to 60 frames per second and up to 120 frames per second in 1080p. As you can see here, the 1080p yields pretty usable results. So there you have it. As the weather improves and I get more time behind the controls of the Air 2S, I should have additional information. I'm working on a comparison video specifically highlighting the difference between the Mavic Air 2 and the Air 2S. I'm also working on some low-light comparisons to see if we can get the most out of this new sensor. The addition of 10-bit color and D-Log, in my opinion, shows that DJI is trying to move the Air line further upmarket to bridge the gap between the consumer level and pro level cameras. At the same time, by not giving the Air 2S a variable aperture and side-facing sensors, they're keeping options available for the Mavic 3. Overall, I really like this drone, and it's absolutely my new current favorite. If you haven't done so already, please do all the things to help this channel out, like, comment, ring the bell, and if you have any questions about the Air 2S, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Also, remember to check out Devin's channel for some behind-the-scenes shots of our testing, and I hope to see you again soon, and until then, keep shooting.